Thank you, Alison, and good morning to you all. Firstly, I'd like to say, again, similar to other speakers, how delighted I am to be here to celebrate the opening of the Foyle Family Justice Centre here today and to represent my organisation, the Police Service of Northern Ireland. Again, I'm sure, as you will all agree, it's great credit to Mary for her commitment and to the project board led by District Judge Mcnally to get us to this stage. I remember speaking to Mary 5-6 years ago when this was just a concept, and it's amazing. At times it seems like it's taken so long, but at times it seems so quick that we're actually now here today. And there have been many challenges along that journey, but it's fantastic we'll all get to see the centre open today. When I've been thinking about the Family Justice Centre from a policing perspective and how we can input into that, the one word that has always resonated with me, and I've seen it a few times in slides already today, is together. It's a reflection of our policing commitment, actually, that we want to work together with partners in the Foyle Justice Centre. And policing in itself is quite a diverse occupation, but today we have Assistant Chief Constable Mark McEwen, who's the head of crime for the police service, Nigel Goddard, who is the local commander for the Derry City and Strabane area, and some colleagues of my own from Public Protection Branch within Crime Department. We're committed to work together, both as a police service but also with our partners, to make sure that we provide the best input that we can to the Foyle Justice Centre. But of course, as important as policing is in terms of justice and our work with the Justice Centre, we recognise that no one agency can work alone to support those who are victims of crime, particularly those very personal crimes of domestic and sexual abuse. So that's why for us, opening the centre today is a clear message of working together with voluntary and statutory partners to improve the lived experiences of victims and survivors. Indeed, when I reflect on recent crime trends, they have brought into sharp focus for me the benefits such a centre as the Foyle Justice Centre can have. Some statistics that you may be aware of: the PSNI, the police service, now respond to a domestic abuse call in Northern Ireland every 16 minutes on average. Domestic abuse constitutes 20% of all crime recorded by the police service. Last year, there were almost 33,000 domestic abuse incidents in Northern Ireland, and that was an increase of 2,000 on the previous 12 months. To think about that in a simple context and a very tragic context, in the time that we will have spent here today, there will be 11 reports of domestic abuse to the Police Service of Northern Ireland. That is a staggering statistic, and for me, evidences the need for us all to work in partnership through the Foyle Justice Centre to help protect those victims and survivors to the best of our ability. I think it's important for me also to highlight to you some of the work that the police service have been involved in over the past 12 to 18 months, all of which I believe the Foyle Justice Centre will be a key part and a key partner in terms of the successful delivery of. And there are 4 areas I want to talk to you with. The first one, and the Lady Chief Justice has touched on it, is new legislation. From a policing perspective, we very much welcome the strengthening of the legislative architecture here in Northern Ireland to better protect victims of domestic and sexual abuse. In February of this year, we have commenced the Domestic Abuse Bill, which, as we know, brings into Northern Ireland for the first time a non-physical offence of domestic abuse where coercive and controlling behaviour has been a factor. From a policing perspective, it's been so important that we got ourselves, to use a football parlance, match fit for the introduction of that bill. And again, it's been through working together. We have co-designed training for our police officers and staff with the help of Women's Aid, the Men's Advisory Project and Rainbow, and together we have already delivered that training to over 6,000 police officers and staff. This means that from a victim's perspective, from their first interaction with police, they should be speaking to someone who knows and understands the signs and behaviours of coercive and controlling behaviour in order to best support them and provide them with advice. Again, as has been previously mentioned, in May of this year, the Stalking Bill went live. Again, another fantastic piece of legislation to help us support victims of that offence. In the short period of time that that legislation has been live, already we have dealt with over 50 cases of stalking. I should also add that in terms of the domestic abuse new offence, we are now seeing over 100 reports of that new offence per month. And as tragic as that is, it is positive that those victims now feel that they have the voice to come forward and we now have legislation that allows us to deal effectively with those offenders, but also put the support in place for victims. It's been touched on the future. We know that as part of the Stalking Act, we will look to bring in non-fatal strangulation. We will look to bring in stalking protection orders to again provide that additional support for victims of stalking, and also domestic abuse protection orders in the next 2 to 3 years to again continue to strengthen the support that we can provide for victims. Moving on from new legislation, the second area is our commitment to provide and improve services for victims and indeed witnesses. It's important that we, as a police service, acknowledge and respond to what we hear and see, and we know that at times it can be challenging accessing justice through the justice system, and that it can be daunting, confusing and indeed traumatic for both victims and witnesses alike. It's often a lonely and scary space for many, is the feedback we hear. But as your police service, we're committed to improving the experiences of victims and witnesses who go through their justice system, and to help them access that wraparound service provided by our partners and us, many of whom are here today, and will also have a footprint in the Foyle Justice Centre. One of the ways we aim to continue to improve our services is by our work with the Public Prosecution Service, some of whom our colleagues are here today. In particular areas in relation to domestic abuse, we are developing a new service level agreement with police and the Public Prosecution Service. Our aim in respect of this is to speed up the investigations, the management and the prosecution of cases to get them before the courts as swiftly as possible. Similarly, we are working with our colleagues within the Public Prosecution Service to complete a joint strategy for serious sexual offences to reflect on how better we can again reduce avoidable delay and better support victims of these such horrific and personal crimes. We are determined to be part of a criminal justice system that gets results, but that also prioritises the best interests of victims and witnesses and supports them through access to justice through facilities such as the Foyle Justice Centre. We're also supporting our colleagues in the Department of Justice in the review of the Domestic Violence Disclosure Scheme, the DVAD scheme. As you may know, the threshold for the release of information to someone who wishes to know about concerns they may have around their partner is serious harm. We're looking at reviewing that threshold to potentially reduce it so that the access to information can be easier for people who need to know and want to know it. There are two aspects of this scheme: the right to ask from someone who is concerned, but also the power to tell. So the police have a power to tell someone if we feel that they are at risk. And again, through the revision of that scheme, potentially lowering that threshold, we'll then look to ensure that we provide really strong training to our officers and staff, but good communication across Northern Ireland so people know how and when to access that scheme. We're also working closely with our colleagues in the Education Authority. We have introduced in the past 12 months Operation Encompass. Operation Encompass is a means by which the police will pass information to our colleagues in the Education Authority and the education sector. Where a child has been involved in a domestic abuse incident, we will notify the school that that child has been involved, so that the following day, when they attend school, the school safeguarding officers can provide that child with the support that they very much need. That scheme has been live for a year now. Initially, we did not have legislation to share the information without the consent of the parents, so we did it where parents consented. We now, through an amendment to the Domestic Abuse and Civil Proceedings Act, have the legislation where that can be done without consent, which is again a very powerful tool to help support our youngest in society from the adverse childhood experiences they will suffer. And so far, since that scheme has gone live, we have made 450 referrals to the Education Authority to support the young in our communities. The third area I wish to talk to you about, which has been touched on also, is violence against women and girls. That's been brought into sharp focus, as we know, over the past 12 months with some very tragic murders, both here in the Republic of Ireland, but also in Great Britain. As a police service, we fully recognise anyone can be a victim of crime, but we know that there are crimes that disproportionately affect women and girls, and we have touched on those in terms of domestic and sexual abuse. We're currently preparing for the launch of our Violence Against Women and Girls Action Plan, which will be launched on the 27th of September this year, the Police Action Plan. Again, it's important that we've worked together on this. Our action plan complements the work of the Executive Office and from colleagues who are here today, but also will work closely with the Department of Health and Department of Justice Domestic and Sexual Abuse 7-year strategy. So our policing strategy that we hope to launch, or we will launch on the 27th of September, will also be for 7 years and will work closely with those other strategies to ensure that they're very much interlinked. In our action plan, we have 2 key strategic outcomes: to contribute to having a society in which violence and abuse against any women and girls in any form, anywhere, is not acceptable and will not be tolerated. And secondly, to build trust and confidence in women and girls in policing. We want to focus on building trust in policing, as well as showing that we can deliver strong, evidence-based prosecutions. We're also pledging our commitment to the relentless pursuit of perpetrators of domestic and sexual abuse in our action plan. We want to improve our response to victims. We know that it is crucial for victims to feel valued, supported, and most importantly, listened to in their journey through the criminal justice system, which here in Foyle, the Foyle Justice Centre, will help us achieve. The final area I wish to touch on is the area of advocacy and support for victims. And that has been delivered through the last 12 months through the work of Assist NI, which had its birthday yesterday. Assist NI is 1 year old, of which Michelle is here as the Chief Executive of Assist NI. Assist stands for Advocacy, Support, Safety, Information, Services Together. This is a partnership between the Men's Advisory Project, Belfast and Lisburn's Women's Aid, and the Foyle Family Justice Centre. It is funded by both the Department of Justice and the Police Service, and Assist NI have been working tirelessly over the past 12 months to keep victims engaged in the criminal justice system where it's been appropriate to do so, and to provide them support and guidance in their hour of need. Assist has really flourished over the past 12 months, in my humble opinion, providing a high-quality service tailored to individual needs and risk. It is trauma-informed and it's victim-centred. And again, I would like to take the opportunity to thank Michelle and all of the advocates for the work that they do. And the role of the advocate here in Derry City and Strabane will be very much working both between the police station where we're required to do so, but also present in the Foyle Justice Centre. So finally, I want to close by saying at the heart of everything we do are the victims and survivors. The Foyle Family Justice Centre really is groundbreaking for Northern Ireland. All partner agencies under one roof, working together and providing true wraparound service to victims. This is central to improving a victim's experience. They do not have to travel to separate service providers and can access a wide range of services under one roof. From a police service perspective, we are truly supportive of this fantastic work that's already being done by the Foyle Family Justice Centre, and we look forward to being part of bringing this new and exciting centre to life over the coming months and years. I started by talking about together being what the Foyle Justice Centre means to me, and I want to finish with a quote from Helen Keller, who was an advocate for women's rights in the early 1900s. Helen said, "Alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much," and I think that's what the Foyle Family Justice Centre will help us all achieve. Thank you.